Hi there. You're listening to The Everglade Chronicles, a reading. I'm the author, Garrett Shave, and I would like to thank you for joining me today, and welcome to the Tale of the Cloverleaf Lord Ask the Author segment. I have a few questions to answer for all of you today, so let's begin. Question number 1. Who is your favorite character from this novel? That's a very difficult question to ask because, well, I love them all. I mean, to be fair, I think in this one, my favorite character would definitely be Mark Glass, who becomes Prince Oberon. He's got such a wild imagination, and at the very end, he becomes the king. And, I don't know, I just had a lot of fun writing him because he's such a mystical, interesting character. Like, he's got so much characterization, and he's just a whimsical person. You almost wonder if he's even real. Question number 2. Would you recommend any books to read? Well, I'm actually always recommending people read. If you're not reading something, you probably should pick something up and read it. There are so many authors out there with so many different writing styles and perspectives. It's really difficult to know which ones to read and which ones not. And, I guess all books are good in their own way. This past year, I just finished reading the Harry Potter series, which I loved quite a bit. I loved how it got better with each book. I'm also very, very pleased to announce that I had finished American Gods by Neil Gaiman. That's probably one of my most favorite books of all time. It was so beautifully written, so I would recommend maybe checking out those books. Of course, and anything by Stephen King. Question number 3. Do you have anything on the go right now? Well, as an author, I always have things on the go. I always have at least 3 stories on the back burner. My newest novel, The Train to Dranmore, is actually slated to come out in September 2024, so once you see that on Amazon, please pick it up. It's entirely unrelated to the Everglade Chronicles, and it's kind of a social commentary set in kind of like a medieval Victorian age, a battle between 2 countries. I suppose I also have some other things on the go. I'm currently trying to flesh out a universe that I've created, so I've got several stories in that vein, which will be coming down the pipeline as the Everglade Chronicles wraps up. So yeah, I've got quite a bit coming, so stay tuned. Question number 4. What makes a great story? This is a really great question, and it took me a while to kind of think about how I would answer. A great story to me is compelling characters, compelling situations, compelling landscapes, anything that compels you, prompts you to read more, a page turner, basically. Anybody that can weave words into a web of beauty, and a great story is also one that has lots of twists and turns and is unexpected. You don't want it to be predictable. So those are the kind of things that I try to incorporate, creating these cool characters and these great landscapes and descriptive actions and just crazy things that are happening. I believe this is question number 5. Is anyone in the Tale of the Cloverleaf Lord based on someone from your life or someone that you've met? I suppose it would kind of be like in the first book, Memoirs of a Neighborhood Queen, where I had taken some people that I knew, I took their names and kind of, messed around with it. As far as I can recall in this very moment, there is no one in those books that is based on anyone in my life or anyone that I've met. So I guess that's kind of, I think that would be kind of disappointing, I suppose, but I try not to draw too much from real life unless I meet somebody quite striking, which is, far and few between. This is question number 6 and number 7. How long does it take you to finish a story, and how long did it take you to finish this book? Well, the process of writing a book is quite extensive, and I'm not like Stephen King, where I can, punch out a 500-page book twice a year. The Tale of the Cloverleaf Lord was kind of written over a series of years, I imagine. I think it took me about 1 to 2 years to finally get it concrete. I suppose in this day and age, it really depends on the type of story that I'm writing and where I want to be when it's finished. So there is one that I was working on earlier last year, like sort of late December, kind of January 2024 era. And that one only took me about maybe a month or two to write. Like, it was very quick. It was very snap, snap, snap. But something like Diaries of a Departed Queen, the next book in the series, took me about a year. But yeah, it really kind of just revolves around how quickly I want to resolve it, or if I have a clear vision of where that story is going. It doesn't take me very long, but sometimes it does. And I feel like the editing process takes even longer, and you want to go back and make sure that everything is perfect and that you didn't mix anything up or crossover characters or things like that. And you also want to make sure that they are pure characters that you have written and that you love. Like, I never want to publish anything where I feel like a character is out of place or is not up to their best potential or doesn't fit the situation that they're in. So I take quite a bit of care when it comes to that. So that's usually why it takes me a bit longer. All right, here is question number 8. How do you deal with writer's block? Does an author really deal with writer's block? I often ask myself that. Recently, I've been kind of at a point where I've been putting a lot of my story writing on the back burner to focus on editing, and the editing process is my least favorite sometimes because it can be extremely strenuous and, it's just difficult to do sometimes. So I think for writer's block, I just like to take a break. I like to think about some other things. And then I also like to think about the story from a different perspective. How would somebody else see this? And that might help uncover some new ideas. So I sometimes I'll do some, maybe I'll have a glass of wine and it might spring me into action or something. But a lot of times I just take a break, or I'll just reevaluate the story and see where it can go, what the possibilities are. Writer's block is extremely hard to get over, and I try not to think too much about it. Okay, we are down to our final question. Number 9. Where do you find inspiration? Well, I think to put it simply, I find inspiration from kind of everywhere. I'm very inspired to write when I read certain books as well. There's quite a bit of inspiration to be found in the pages of other people's books, and to kind of take ideas and just kind of throw them around and then make them your own. Not to say that I'm directly copying anyone, of course, but you feel inspired by reading a Margaret Atwood or a Stephen King or an Anne Rice or a Neil Gaiman. You just kind of look at the kind of story that they're writing, post-apocalyptic, futuristic, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and then I kind of just want to do a spin on it. Like, I recently had just read Salem's Lot, Stephen King vampire horror, and it kind of made me think, well, maybe I should write a vampire book. What would my perspective be of a vampire book? What would a Garrett Shave vampire book look like? And so that's something that I definitely take inspiration from, and I would rather not be in the commonplace, but also in the commonplace at the same time, where it's like I'm finding these stories that are grounded in realism, but they have a little bit of supernatural magic to them. There's some mysticism, something that makes you want to pull behind the curtain and see what magical world is there. Because, the world is so big and beautiful, and it's so full of many things that we don't really know what is there for certain. And, I like the mysticism of it all. So to conclude that, I would say that I just find inspiration kind of everywhere, but it's mostly from reading, and I would recommend everybody read. Thank you for joining me today during this Ask the Author segment. That was fun answering all of your questions. I appreciate the people that took the time to submit those questions too. I am taking a podcast break over the summer to enjoy myself and complete some other projects. So the final Everglade novel, Diaries of a Departed Queen, will begin streaming on the podcast in fall 2024. If you need the material, you can find it exclusively on Amazon. Remember to follow my pages on Facebook and Instagram at The Everglade Chronicles. It's hard to believe that we have already finished Book 2, but here we are. Snag my next novel, The Train to Dranmore, releasing in September 2024. All updates for that book will be on the Everglade Chronicles page for the time being. Have a great summer, everyone, and remember, pick up a book and read. See you in the fall!